Politics is about solving problems. For Republicans, Democratic voters are a problem. So the GOP has been championing laws and actions to make voting less convenient, including weakening the Voting Rights Act, eliminating early voting, eliminating polling stations, and enacting voter ID laws. Problem solved? Come November, we'll have our finger on the pulse. Do voter ID laws really reduce voter fraud?
Voter fraud is a really big issue in this country. For years, people have been going to multiple polling places to hoard those I voted stickers.
There is rampant voting fraud. We're talking about gerrymandering, right?
It's a question what you mean by voter fraud. If you mean what I mean, which is elderly minorities voting, then yes, it does. I mean, those people should not be voting.
I think the problem is that for Republican politicians, most minority voters look alike, so they need those IDs to make sure it's not the same person voting over and over again.
It's a nightmare out there.
It's a completely fictional issue.
How do Republican voter ID laws affect the Republican effort to reach out to black voters?
Well, I reject the premise of the question. I mean, we don't want black voters.
It's pretty much like when Las Vegas was going to be family friendly. It's like, it goes against your brand.
They were making an effort?
I mean, what we do want is black voters who hate themselves. Like, sort of like white trash who vote against their own interests. Like, we like those guys, but, you know, black voters, I mean, they're black. I don't really understand why you'd want to reach out to those people.
Republican politicians are trying to reach out to black voters the way that I fake an orgasm. Half-heartedly, because I know it's something I probably should do.
What sorts of measures will they enact in the future to make it even harder to vote?
Wow, that's a great idea. That's a great question.
Maybe they'll use some sort of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy thing where the only way you learn about the election is you have to go to City Hall into the basement, but there's no stairs and there's no light down there, and that's how you can find out that there's voting on Tuesday.
Probably exploding dye packs. Because why not? Oh, look, there's a black person. Oh, now they're red.
The voight-kampff machine test from Blade Runner.
And we have been talking about this, and some of the ideas are really retro. Like, they're very, like, 1950s, like, like just poll taxes. We just go with the straight poll tax.
Does this mean that black people have to march like it was the 60s again?
It seems like now would be a good time. It seems like now would be a good time. Now would be a good time. Now would be a good time.
The truth is, the only way anything is going to change is if minority voters really get out and vote. Oh, I get it now.
Well, I mean, they don't have to. I mean, they could just sit there and take it, which is what I prefer. I mean, really, if they just took it. But, you know, if they want change, I guess.
Yeah, sure, black people can march again like it's the 60s, but they should be expected to be beat down, just like they were in the 60s. That was the golden age of the beat down for black people in the 60s.
Should Republicans who have spoken out against this type of suppression be afraid?
For Republicans out there who are starting to realize that they might believe everyone deserves equal rights, I just want to say, it gets better. You are not alone. There are millions of us like you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, but the Koch brothers will just straight up fucking kill you if they don't like what you're saying.
Yeah, I think they should be, because it's like being the whistleblower in the mayonnaise factory. The owners are very pleased with their product, and they don't want anyone telling them that there's poison in it.
If voter suppression had a mascot, what would it be?
I assume just an elderly black woman with a look of disappointment. That would be my first thing. Or like something like the Phillies fanatic, somewhere in between.
Jim the Crow. If not that, maybe George Wallace in a doorway.
How long would a white Republican wait in the voting line before leaving?
That's a trick question. Republicans wouldn't wait in line. They'd pay an undocumented immigrant to stand in line for them.
Many of them can afford to hire people to wait in line for them, so...
We're talking like Ted Cruz filibuster long.
What else would discourage wealthy white Republicans from voting?
Discourage wealthy Republicans? Do we really want poor Republicans voting either? Like, they're the ones I'm afraid of. A wealthy Republican isn't going to shoot up a Planned Parenthood. They're just going to suggest it.
2 words: Mexican babies. That's it. If you want to keep white people, wealthy white people, from wanting to go to the polls, you just guarantee they're going to be like minority children running around, and they'll be like, no.
Maybe if a sudden art auction broke out.
It's a very complicated thing, suppressing the vote. Like, it's not, it's like rocket science, which we're cutting off funding to, by the way.